You currently find yourself in the gap between identifying an incident and the expiration of the 72-hour reporting window under the UK GDPR. In this series, our team will help you navigate what to do when you have a data breach in 5 steps. Step 4. Report and record. Under Article 33.1, you are required to report a breach to the ICO unless it's unlikely to result in a risk to the rights and freedoms of natural persons. In plain English, you must report a data breach when your assessment has identified that there is a risk to the rights and freedoms of the people affected. If you have identified a high risk to individuals, you also need to notify them. Reporting a breach to the ICO is actually a fairly straightforward process and can be done using their website. Before you do so, you should ensure that you have an understanding of what happened, when and how you became aware of the breach, identified the groups who have been affected such as clients and employees, how you are working to mitigate the breach, and contact details for the person responsible for liaising with the ICO about the breach. You will receive an acknowledgement from the ICO and a follow-up email from the caseworker assigned. Please keep in mind that this can take some time and depends on the severity of the breach and the availability of ICO workers. We all know they're quite busy. If you notify the ICO outside of the 72-hour time frame, you must also explain why your notification is late. Okay, let's say you got lucky and it is not reportable to the ICO. Even if you don't have to report back to your board that there were no ICO reportable breaches this quarter, you still have some work to do. As you have been keeping a log of your actions and findings throughout your investigation of the breach, Article 33.5 requires you to document all facts and any actions taken during the course of the breach. Even if you don't have to report back to your board that there were no ICO reportable breaches this quarter, you still have some work to do. As you've been keeping a log of your actions and findings throughout the investigation of the breach, Article 33.5 requires you to document all facts and any actions taken during the course of the breach. This includes, at this stage when you've deemed it non-reportable, your reasoning for why it is non-reportable. Let's turn to how to communicate a breach to a data subject. This is less straightforward than reporting a breach to the ICO. If you have identified a high risk, you must notify the affected data subjects. However, this does come with some caveats. If you have implemented appropriate technical and organisational measures to reduce the impact of the breach, or taken measures to ensure the risk you identified are no longer likely to occur, then you are no longer required to make the notification. Otherwise, if it is not possible to communicate directly with a data subject affected, you are released from the requirement in one sense, but must instead make a public communication that informs the data subjects. In your communication to the individual, you must include the following: a plain English explanation of what occurred and how they were affected, contact details for the person responsible for liaising with the individuals about the breach, the possible consequences of the breach, and finally, how you are working to mitigate the breach. The ICO may also compel you to report a breach to individuals if they have identified that the breach you reported is of sufficient risk.